Hello, one all. It's Madoc Stone, chapter 221, and Trusting It All. And I have got to say, this has probably been one of the best Ryu chapters we've ever gotten, and that is really saying a lot because Ryu just shines so absolutely freaking brightly in every single chapter he's in. But what Francois says here, you've set aside your personal desire in favor of a greater desire. That just so utterly sums up exactly who Ryu is as a person. I mean, way back when Ryu was first introduced, I wanted to hate him. I truly did. I mean, he just seems so absolutely freaking arrogant and pompous, and it's just like, oh god, it's gonna be one of these guys. But I loved him. I fell in love with him after the very first chapter because he just had this absolute level of charisma about him, and there was just something I couldn't really put into words. I mean, later on we saw a flashback of Francois where she said that, Ryu wasn't selfish, but rather his desire was noble, and I kind of understood it, but not really until right now. While Ryu does desire literally everything, he's not greedy about it. I'm not really sure what the exact word is here, but he has levels of greed. He realizes, his desire for this is level 1 greed, his desire for that is level 5 greed. And in this case, his desire to, take a rocket to the moon isn't as strong as his desire to save all of humanity. He's willing to sacrifice his own happiness for the sake of giving humanity a better chance of surviving, giving humanity a better chance of not being wiped out by the Y-Man. And while it might seem like a very obvious choice to make for Ryu, for a man who's desired it so badly, it certainly was not. Also, just for a man as prideful as Ryu to admit, I'm not the best, there's someone more qualified than me, that could not have been easy, and it was absolutely amazing he did it, and I freaking loved it. Anyway, though, rest of the chapter, we Ryu just casually come up to Senku and saying, hey Senku, say you were a knight in a medieval fantasy world. Which, of course, just utterly and completely flummoxes Senku. He's like, what the freak are you talking about? But he very quickly catches on and realizes exactly what it is Ryu is talking about. He realizes, Ryu is admitting it. Ryu is acknowledging there is someone better than him out there, and given that I'm so all about, efficiency and doing the best thing in each situation, I too must acknowledge that, there is someone else out there who is a better pilot than Ryu is, and if Ryu's willing to give up his seat, then we need to go with him. We need to pick the other guy. We need to go with frickin' Stanley. And while I am definitely overreaching here, I couldn't help but notice some parallels in the story. The princess could have chosen the knight from her own kingdom, or she could have picked a foreign king, a foreign member of royalty, and marrying them would ensure peace between the lands. Does that sound at all familiar to anybody else? Because let's not forget, when Luna proposed to Senku, Senku said, oh, like a political marriage. Okay, let's do that. Senku agreed to date/marry Luna for the sake of a political marriage, like what we're seeing here with the princess who was engaged to by a king from a foreign land. Senku's marriage to Luna would bring peace between Japan and America, just like this princess's marriage to the king would do. So are they basically saying that Senku is going to marry Luna because that makes more sense, it's more logical? I mean, very unlikely, but I would so love to see Kohaku, burst in, interrupt the wedding, and shout out, I object! And then when they ask her why, she's like, I'm not really sure, Jen told me to do it. Like I said, definitely overreaching, but that thought came to my mind, and I just had to talk about it. Here. Anyway, then they decide to go tell Zeno they're going to wake up his old friend, and oh my god, his response. You can see the passion, you can see the light in his eyes for the first time in such a long time. He's so happy, he's on the verge of tears, but much like Senku, he does not let anyone else see it. He turns away, he hides from them to hide the emotions showing on his face. I mean, Senku isn't really all that emotional of a person, but when, he really truly feels it, like when he murdered Tsukasa or when he visited his father's grave, he refused to let anyone else see his face, he refused to let anyone else see his tears, and so he turned away from them and cried in private. I love that, I just love that about Senku, and I love it's a detail that he shares with Zeno. And of course, somebody has to acknowledge the possibility that Zeno and Stanley will team up and try to conquer the entire world. Of course, Ryu and Senku aren't all that concerned about basically saying, yeah, we've kind of already, established a world. We kind of have a world running right now. I mean, you can give it your best shot, but I really don't think you're going to have any chance of trying to overthrow us by this point. I mean, later on, Jinro says he might grab a gun and start shooting the second he wakes up. I mean, are there many guns currently around? I mean, yeah, he doesn't have any guns when he wakes up, and I guess he does get one later on, but really, how many guns they really have? I guess the ones that Ryu, Senku, and Quack were practicing with in the last chapter, but I can't imagine, there'd be that many within his reach right after he woke up. I mean, I guess he does have one by the end of the chapter. So, okay, Jinro, your fear right there was a little bit warranted. Of course, the calm, level-headed Ukyo has pointed out, don't worry, Stanley's only ever followed orders. That's all he's ever done before. And, that's right. That's something I'm seeing a lot of people online saying, oh, Stanley's gonna be fine. Stanley won't do anything evil. Stanley just follows orders. But, I mean, let's not forget, the one giving him those orders is freaking Zeno. So, that's concerning. And there's a fairly good reason why everyone is, so utterly, utterly terrified of Stanley. He tried to murder them. He did murder them. In fact, Stanley tried to murder and thought he did murder Suka. Oh, God above, I forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, you could say you're just following orders, but the point in time where you're murdering children, shooting them in the head over and over again, that's not really so much justifiable. You can't really say, I was just following orders, sir. No, that's a war crime. That is absolutely a war crime. So yeah, when they say this will be his chance for atonement, they really do mean it. Stanley does need to be atoned. Stanley does need to be forgiven, if not by some sort of god, then by the people of the Kingdom of Science. Once Stanley does something that, saves the world, saves humanity, whatever, then everyone just kind of forget about his sins. I mean, that's what happened with Tsukasa, who, murdered Senku, but then he switched sides. And Hyoga murdered a bunch of people, but as soon as he joined sides with Senku, as soon as he helped save Senku's life, everyone's like, Hyoga's fine, don't worry about it. Even though we should very much still be worried about it. Hyoga's a very terrifying person, and a cold-blooded freaking murderer. Of course, they decide not to go into this, fully blind. They decide to keep Tsukasa near Zeno at all times to serve basically as a bodyguard to keep him hostage to make sure that if Stanley does anything, if Zeno is plotting anything, then Tsukasa will undoubtedly cause me bodily harm. Oh, I love the way he words that. And, someone should probably tell him the story about how Tsukasa, snapped Senku's neck. So, yeah, he is absolutely willing to kill someone for the sake of saving humanity. So, yeah, you should be afraid of this man. You should be very, very afraid of this man. Didn't he? Oh, yeah, so don't forget, Tsukasa actually beat Maya, the strongest soldier in Stanley's division, in a, battle of strength. So... that's worrisome. That's very, very worrisome. Seriously, tell that story to Zeno. Let him know exactly who it is he's messing with right now. And I also do love the fact they decide not to let Zeno basically be viewed as a villain here. They decide to not let him, pay himself as a villain, pay himself as a malcontent, because, they're the Kingdom of Science. They won't let people live in ignorance anymore, which, feels like an interesting stance to take after, don't forget back in the Stone Wars, they tried to convince everyone that America was up and running again, and they were on their way to save them. So yeah, you can't really take the anti-ignorance platform when you tried to use media to influence and control the people. That was a very strange plot point in this series. In a very strange series, that was a very strange plot point they chose. Like I said, I mean, this whole series is about science and knowledge, but so much was also about controlling the people with the science. I mean, when Senku first moved to Ishigami Village, or moved to the outskirts of Ishigami Village, he used ramen to basically influence people to convince them to come out and join his side. He made Jinro a golden spear and offered to make Kinro a silver spear. If I'm remembering this correctly, Kinro got the golden spear and Jinro got the silver spear, which corroded when they went into the poison gas area. That's right, that's what happened. But anyway, then they all agree to go wake up Stanley, and I really do love that Dr. Chelsea goes to Ryu and says, hey Ryu, are you actually okay with this? I mean, clearly he's not, but no one else is really willing to ask him that because, they know he's not. They know it's going to be very painful for him. And Chelsea, I mean, she's a very blunt person, but she cuts through the red tape. She cuts through the red tape, like back in India with Sai. Jen was outside the door like, okay, how exactly should I word this? How should I go in? Should I try this? Should I try that? And then Chelsea just burst the door and said, hey, Sai, what's up with you and Ryu in that family picture? Oh, I love it. Absolutely freaking love that. But anyway, then they all go off to go wake up Stanley, and oh my god, I just love it. I absolutely freaking love this reunion they have. I mean, Dino's just there, holding a lighter and a cigarette, and Stanley just takes it, lights a cigarette, and says, what's the job? Oh, that is such a freaking awesome, just terrifying reunion. I mean, these two are really made for one another. I mean, really draws the attention back to, when Senku and Taiju reunited, the several times they reunited, and each time, Taiju tries to go in for a hug, But with Zeno and Stanley, they're just utterly and completely focused on the mission. Stanley knows that if Zeno woke him up, if they chose to woke him up, and Zeno is no longer being used as a hostage, it's because they need Stanley to do something. They need Stanley to accomplish some sort of job. And honestly, given the Stone Age, it could literally be anything. Given, Stanley's talents, it could be, oh, we need you to murder this guy who's causing problems for the new Kingdom of Science. We need you to go fight killer robots. There's an infestation of rabies-riddled bears we need to go deal with. It could honestly have been anything, and it's made abundantly clear very quickly that Stanley was the absolute best person for this job, given that he's quickly able to do the calculations in his head in a split second. People actually check this online. The math is right. The actual answer is 0.13 degrees, which, definitely seems to impress Senku. And it's also probably worth noticing that this is the first time Senku and Stanley have talked. I'm pretty sure Stanley's shot Senku multiple times, but they never actually had a proper conversation until this exact moment, which, wow, that's a interesting little tidbit right there. Very interesting little tidbit right there. And speaking of interesting, we then have Stanley's true reunion with Zeno as he reaches out and touches his lips as Zeno trembles in response. I felt dirty reading that. I felt dirty saying that, honestly. This feels like something from a very, very different series. A very erotic series. I mean, if you can read this in a way that's non-sexual, please let me know, but I can't really see it the way. This feels very romantic, very tender, very, true love, not just, true best friend kind of thing. Some people online were saying, oh no, it's European style. I mean, I've been to Europe. I've never seen someone touch someone else's lips like that before. So, yeah, I think we can really finally 100% confirm that Stanley is in fact in love with Zeno. Yay! And we then flash over to Ryu practicing his shooting on the targets, and he's doing, fairly well, given the targets are moving and so far away, but he is just still so overwhelmingly heartbroken that he's gonna miss the opportunity to go to the freaking moon with Senku and the rest of them. He wants it so freaking badly. And then Stanley just really shows him up by showing just how much better he is than Ryu. And when I first read this, I thought, oh my god, that's so cruel. Just, Stanley just rubbing in his face how much better he is, being able to hit every single one of the targets at a bullseye point while being so much further away from them than Ryu. But when I reread it, I realized, this is actually an act of kindness. Stanley is telling Ryu straight up, I am better than you. I am the one that's right for this job. You wake me up was the right choice, and I'm going to get the job done. I will make sure this mission is successful. In a way that only Stanley can actually say it. And then we reach the final page. Senku Ishigami, Kawaku No Name, Stanley Snyder, those three have been selected. And it really does feel like these are the three that's actually going to go to the moon, but I mean, it says in my last video, 2 chapters ago was Tsukasa giving up his seat to Kohaku. This chapter was Ryu giving up his seat to Stanley. It really does feel like next chapter will be Senku giving up his seat to Chrome. I mean, I've been saying this for a very long time, and I've gotten a lot of pushback in the comments. That's fine. I understand. I mean, this has been Senku's dream, go to space, go to the moon. That's what he's always wanted, but at the same time, I just can't help but feel like Chrome might be a better choice. I mean, yes, Senku knows science better than Chrome does, obviously. I'm not going to dispute anyone on that, but Chrome knows science in a different way than Senku does. Senku has the 21st century, knowledge of science, of ordinary science, of how light bulbs work and all that, but when they actually get to the moon, they're going to be facing science that just completely and utterly defies their understanding. Whatever kind of base the white man has, it will, not work in the way they know science works. And somebody like Chrome, who can think outside the box, who isn't constrained by our modern understanding of science, would definitely be beneficial in that scenario. I mean, let's think back to the stealth ship they built. It was not relevant at all. Seriously, they built the ship to hide from Stanley's radar, despite the fact that Stanley was in the ocean and they were in the Amazon River. And in the very next chapter, they abandoned the ship and had to scale down a waterfall to reach their next destination. So there's absolutely no point to it other than showing that Chrome can think outside the box, that Chrome can come up with ideas that neither Senku or Zeno would have ever thought of before. So Chrome going to the moon does make a lot of sense, even if it really was, Senku's dream, Senku's wish above all else to go to space. I guess we'll have to see what happens. I mean, Tsukasa did drop out, and I think we can very easily say that Tsukasa weighs more than Chrome and Kohaku put together. Actually, we could, if I had the mental strength, I'd go back to the chapter that actually listed all their weights and confirm it, but yeah, that sounds about right to me. So, maybe Senku, Kohaku, Chrome, and Stanley would all go to the moon together. I mean, they don't actually really need a life support system because they're going to petrify themselves before they go up, so maybe they can, stick them in storage and it'll be okay. I'm not sure about that, not sure of that, but please link all down below. What do you think of Ryu giving up his seat to Stanley? Do you think that Senku will keep his seat or give it to someone else? I mean, I said Chrome, but I'm seeing a lot of people online saying, oh, Atsuka, maybe she and Chrome will go together to the moon. And while I would absolutely freaking love to see that, I mean, Atsuka is a freaking angel. I love her, I worship her, I adore her. I really just can't imagine, justifying her going to the moon over Senku. I mean, Chrome, maybe. That's a really big maybe. But Tsuka, yeah, not so much. I mean, if there's a 4C, they're going to give it to Senku, not Tsuka. That's just logic right there. And just what do you think's going to happen next? Are they actually going to start building the rocket now? I mean, they said require millions of parts from around the world. So could we actually see, factories being constructed and operated in every city they've built around the globe as they all work together, as all humanity comes together to make this rocket, to challenge the Y-Man and save the world, save humanity, save everyone. Yay! Let me know what you think all this down below. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Until then, peace!